Hello YouTube family, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, my name is Lakna. Thank you so much for tuning in. So in this video I am going to share with you all some of my channeled insights for the next full moon, which is happening on June 11th, and in Vedic astrology this full moon is happening in Scorpio in the nakshatra called Jyestha. So stay tuned for some of my channeled insights. So each full moon that we experience is really connected to the new moon that we experience prior to the full moon, because the new moon is the start of the new chapter and the full moon is a culmination point of that chapter to illuminate whatever hasn't been serving us, what we need to let go of, to release, to realign. So the previous new moon we had was on May 26th, 27th, end of last month, in Taurus, in the nakshatra called Rohini. So we started this chapter end of May in this star that is symbolic of planting new seeds to harvest, which is really aligned with new moon energy. New moons are about planting the new seeds of intention which you wish to grow and flourish. And the star which we started this new moon was really about that energy, about growing this fertile and abundant garden and planting the seeds which we wish to flourish. So if we imagine the start of this chapter was this blank slate of a new moon with a dark moon with this Rohini energy, so this garden is completely, imagine like a deserted sort of, there's not even any proper soil, there's just this deserted land that has absolutely no love or care, and this is where we're starting off blank and fresh. Rohini is where we go and we decide to water that garden, and we give it the food and the love that it needs to flourish and grow. We give the intentions and the focus and the actions that are necessary for that garden to grow and flourish. And throughout this journey of this new chapter with Rohini, we're moving into Jyestha, full moon, this star in Scorpio, which really wants to uncover the deepest parts of that soil, of where you've planted those seeds, what is buried underneath that soil, under our subconscious. All of the hidden things are really going to be brought to light by the full moon, which is sort of like illuminating its light under the soil to see our hidden subconscious patterns, outdated beliefs and limited ways of going about things that are really not serving us anymore are going to really arise now. Things that, imagine with this Rohini garden that we have put so much of our focus and our intention and attention and energy, and just taking a lot of action and movement towards achieving our goals and physically creating this beautiful abundant garden. Imagine this garden is now flourishing abundantly, but it's becoming a chaos because we have so much energy and intention, and we're not going deep into the soil to see what our foundations are, to see what our intentions are purely through our entire soul, our entire being, and the way that we think and respond and react to life, to our garden. This full moon is really bringing up that deeper unconscious stuff. Scorpio is all about going deep and into that real emotional, psychological part of us that really needs healing. It's all the shadow work that needs to be done or undone to see where things aren't really serving us. And it's about coming into balance and harmony with our physical creation, which is more of that Rohini energy, in order to have a really aligned and beautiful creation that's fully aligned with our heart and soul. We also need to do the inner work, the emotional work. Scorpio, and especially the star Jyestha, is about more than the physical security of this beautiful abundant garden. It's about the emotional security and the stability and the strength that we can only gain through going through some heavy things, through uncovering and facing our fears and our trauma and our wounds, and bringing those things up which may be buried under that soil. And maybe we weren't able to fix that foundation before setting those intentions and planting those seeds, and things have grown, and that's okay. It's all perfect. But now this full moon is giving us the chance to weed our garden. So this full moon is really going to illuminate where in our beautiful flourishing garden do we need more weeding and pruning and, you know, purifying of our garden, more water, more nutrients, more love, more care, more attention, more, you know, refining, and also more protecting from pests that will come and invade and eat some of the plants and destroy some of the things that you want to grow. Some, you know, making sure that your plants are growing in the right environment and getting the right amount of sun, and not too much, not too less. So the environment and protection is a big theme that comes up with the sign of Scorpio, especially this nakshatra Jyestha. When you think about the scorpion is quite a defensive creature and sort of ready to attack, ready to be in that defense mode, and is not so easily trusting. In contrast to the previous new moon in Rohini, in the sign of Taurus, which is all about the divine feminine flow, which is completely opposite to that defense energy. It's very open and trusting and open, and I said open, very trusting and open and receptive and allowing, which when you're in this distrustful mode and you are, you know, ready to attack, ready to fight, that is being closed off and guarded and not trusting, and that is closing you off to potential opportunities and blessings. But it's also healthy to be aware. Scorpio does tend to have a really strong discernment and understanding of both the shadow world and the light, especially in this star Jyestha. It's like this energy where you can really read people and their hidden intentions, what lies beneath the soil, even intentions that maybe those people don't know themselves. Scorpio has a way of reading all of the spectrum of emotions because they're not afraid of that shadow world, which is a powerful thing. And because of that, this star Jyestha, there's a lot of symbology with the theme of protection. There is the symbol of the umbrella, which you could keep that umbrella guarding some of the plants in your garden to protect them. Jyestha is a protector. Jyestha is also known as the elder star or the elder sister star. So my moon is in Jyestha and I am the older sister. It tends to happen with this nakshatra, like you'll either be an older sibling or just carry that energy of an elder. So we do all have the opportunity leaning towards this full moon to really tap into some profoundly divine wisdom, this elder-like wisdom from our ancestors, from our higher self, from this star. Really, Jyestha has a lot to that wants to be shared to do with some of the really deep recesses of our psyche and our mind. It's like a very dark feminine kind of energy of, like I see the Taurus, the Rohini nakshatra, as a very light feminine energy, and now moving into the full moon, of course the moon is illuminating all of its light on this dark feminine energy, which is more of a void kind of place where we go deep into facing our deepest, darkest fears and our deepest wounds and our traumas, to unpack and to really go through this death and rebirth process, and we will come out of it so much stronger. And this dark feminine energy is all about tapping into our power, really, and reclaiming our strength, our power, and like feeling really confident in ourselves, and really transmuting and alchemizing any past hurts and pains and trauma into light. You can't reach that light feminine energy without going through the dark. The contrast has to exist, and they're both such empowering forces, and it's so great to have both energies, like from new moon to full moon, working together, because even in Vedic astrology there is a lot of connections with both of these two stars together, and they're very like kind of like yin and yang energies. They both have so much to learn from each other, and I know that for a fact, like being a Jyestha moon, and I have so many people in my life with this nakshatra of Taurus Rohini in their chart, and they teach me so much about taking things easier, and like life doesn't have to be hard, it can be fun, and it can be really like heavenly. Actually, we don't constantly have to be in this death and rebirth cycle. There are some really deep wounds that tend to come up in the star Jyestha, and these themes come up with every single one of us. These are common themes that humans have to go through. They are like initiations into really stepping into our truth and our authenticity. And in order to do that, we do have to go through these themes in differing strengths and degrees, depending on how much strength and power we hold, and how deeply we need to integrate our truth and our authenticity and love for ourselves. And one of these themes is reclaiming our power, which can only happen through first completely forgetting our power and completely giving our power away to external forces which may have manipulated us in the past or taken advantage. But with the awareness that we have now, we take that responsibility back and we take that power back. It is our responsibility, once we gain that awareness, to do everything that we can to take our power back. And there is this wound of betrayal that comes with that, because we did betray ourselves in that process of losing ourselves and not putting ourselves first. And of course, like, we shouldn't feel hard on ourselves or feel guilty for doing that at all, because we did the best that we could in the level of consciousness that we were in. Sometimes we have to go through things like trauma bonds and this sort of sleep like paralysis of understanding, and just be completely attached to needing to do things for other people or for a certain person or for a certain like job or situation, so that we can really go through that lesson of completely losing ourselves, and then we find ourselves again, and that whole journey will make us appreciate and really be strong in our sense of self. And sometimes we have to be beaten up so hard for us to finally stand up for ourselves and not put up with anything less than respect and anything less than less than what you deserve. With this star especially, some of the traits that this star carries is power and protection and this really strong energy. So in order to be in that energy, it takes a lot of tests from God, from the universe, to be like, do you remember how powerful you are? And sometimes to maintain these positions, you do have to go through a lot. It's like in the video games, like you move up by levels and there's more obstacles and things that come up in your way to try and distract you or to try and get at you. But you get stronger and more disciplined and more able to sort of deal with those distractions and those obstacles and those, I don't know, enemies, you could say, that are trying to bring you down. But with this star, I said enemies, but with this star, that I like to believe that there is this realization that you go through, that all of this stuff that is happening externally, that you can control that by mastering your mind, and that there is this theme of like really seeing life kind of like a battleground at times, because there's always obstacles, there's always people seemingly trying to bring you down. And this can happen when you hold a lot of power. It can trigger people's insecurities, it can trigger people's outdated ways of living and belief systems when you are someone who carries a lot of strength and power and also ambition. This is the energy of a really ambitious star that wants to do big things. And when you're giving life your all, you're going to trigger people who aren't doing that for themselves. And I think about that scene in the Matrix when Neo is trying to fight. There is a guy he's trying to fight and he keeps multiplying, and it's just like it doesn't end. And that's kind of how life can be when you are focused on the light and you're focused on good and you want to create more good and you're so dedicated to doing that. It can feel like there is just multiple things that come up sometimes, because that, like, there's so much I could go into with that topic, but I do personally, I believe that there is a lot of forces that don't necessarily agree with the light. There's a lot of shadow forces that do really well in our world. There's a lot of famous people, there's a lot of people who are really succeeding in our life who don't carry much light. And the people who do, we do encounter a lot more obstacles. That's not to say that light workers and light beings can't live a beautiful, abundant lifestyle. We absolutely can. And whatever abundance means to you, like, you can create that life for yourself. And this new moon and full moon chapter is really wanting us to tap into what we are creating and the behind the scenes as well, now moving into this full moon, of our unconscious programming and doing some deeper inner work, shadow work, inner child work. I've recently started doing parts work therapy, which I highly, highly recommend. You can there's a lot of videos on YouTube, but I like to think of parts work, I compare it to the movie Inside Out, with the entities of the emotion representing the emotions. I feel that we all carry these different parts, different emotional entities that come through us in times of triggering stress, wherever, like situations where we had to disconnect from our soul's essence because of fear or sadness or pain or whatever uncomfortable emotion. And it's time to make peace with those other parts of ourselves. This work is so important. And with light worker beings, like when we are focused on goodness and truth and love and light over money, putting that first, and then the financial success and abundance and security will come. When we prioritize that, sometimes it can seem like it's taking longer for us to gain the fruits of our labor, but we have to trust that we're supported, and it's all about trusting and letting go of the fear and tapping back more into love. I want to actually read, I have this little message I wrote to myself as a Jyestha moon, and for all of you now, because you will be experiencing this energy. Life doesn't have to be a battleground. You can let down your armor, you're safe. The real battle is in your mind, and mastering your mind will change everything for you. When you let down that armor, you open up your heart, and your heart is, yeah, it's literally open when you've let that armor down, and your energy field, your aura, it becomes bigger and stronger and more open and allowing of all of the blessings and the opportunities that you deserve. And that may have been blocked when you had that armor up, when you were in that defense and fearful mode, not listening to your intuition, but instead over intellectualizing and analyzing, which is very Mercurian. And Jyestha is ruled by Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars, but Jyestha is ruled by Mercury. So Mercury is our intellect, our thoughts, the way that we communicate to ourselves, the internal dialogues, and yeah, Mercury is that messenger. So when we open up, when we let that armor down, we're more receptive, our heart chakra is open. So yeah, and this theme of Mercury as well is really coming up this month in June. There's a lot of Gemini energy. Mercury is also a lot to do with connecting with others and how we connect. So taking the theme of connections back to the garden analogy, if you think about our garden has not just one species of plants, there are multiple species, multiple spirits in our garden. There's tree spirits, there's the animal spirits, there's the different creatures, and there's birds, there's butterflies, all of these connections happening within your garden, and some of them are not serving your higher self. Like some of these plants are needing weeding and pruning out. There's pests that are sort of destroying certain areas of your garden which you want to maintain. So think about that in the human experience. Like there are some connections which aren't serving us, or I believe all connections are serving us. It's all like learning. But at the time of this full moon, like the moon is wanting to illuminate to us what isn't serving us, what needs a shift and a death and a rebirth to take place. So reflect on like any issues that you're having with any connections in your life, and what is that trying to tell you about yourself. It may be just as simple as you need to have stronger boundaries with that person, and you need to put yourself first, or you need to take your power back, or you need to be more authentic in your way of approaching a situation and being yourself and having those uncomfortable conversations with that person. Humans, we are, and connections, especially close ones, relationships, marriages, like family, strong friendships, we act as mirrors to each other, and we're constantly reflecting things back to each other, which we need to take on and really reflect on. And the full moon is the perfect time to do that. The moon is fully illuminating its light into the Scorpio energy, the shadow parts of ourselves. Scorpio is the ruler of the 8th house, which is the part of ourselves which we hide from ourselves. So this is real shadow work that is wanting to be looked into. The shadows want to be seen. Also themes to do with intimacy, which is the 8th house, and into me I see that is really what it's about. The 2nd house of Taurus is about our values and our priorities and our self-worth, and this is something we need to look into. A big part of this shadow work is like, do you love yourself truly? Like, ask yourself that, because a lot of us think that we do, but when we look deeply into it, there is, for so many of us, there is a part of our inner child that feels neglected and pushed away and misunderstood and really just hasn't been given enough space and comfort to be seen and to be held and to be nurtured. So it's something to reflect on. If you have any issues with like intimacy with your partner, or that is a scary thing for you, like it's something to just think about. Like, this is a big part of Scorpio and a big part of life, really, that is like being comfortable to be so deeply connected and vulnerable with someone else. You can't do that to such a deep level if you haven't done that with yourself. So the last thing I'm going to mention with this star, Jyestha, which means the elder sibling, if you can, take some time out towards this full moon to really step into that role of being an elder sibling for your inner child. Whether you have an elder sibling in your life or not, it doesn't matter. Now it's your time to be that elder sibling for your younger self and to help little her or him feel really loved and seen and heard and supported and protected. You owe that to yourself, and with the energies of this star, there is so much wisdom, elder-like wisdom, which you can tap into to really help yourself to feel safe, to be open and vulnerable with the world and trusting, and to walk with trust and faith and confidence and really owning your power as well. And yeah, just really trusting in yourself, knowing that you've got your back. Really forgive yourself and forgive others for any pain that they've caused you. Forgive yourself for betraying yourself. You did the best that you could with that level of understanding that you had at that time. And Scorpio really deals with some of the deepest and heaviest emotions and themes that come up to do with like these power struggles and betrayal and things like jealousy and being taken advantage of, and like really traumatic events and tower kind of moments come up with this energy of Scorpio. And it's about really forgiving ourselves, accepting what has happened, and really allowing ourselves to feel the full extent of these intense emotions so that we can then transmute and alchemize that into light. And that is ultimately what this full moon is about. And it may not be so heavy for you. I find that the more inner work that we're doing and reflecting and really actively working on what is coming up in the chapter of from the new moon up to the full moon, if we're actively doing the work and really listening to our higher self, the full moon doesn't feel so crazy and intense and full on. But if it does, like, it's all perfect. Sometimes there are just certain things that we aren't ready to face until it hits us right in the face. So yeah, whatever stage in your journey of processing and releasing and, you know, coming back into alignment with yourself and reclaiming your strength and your power, I send you so much love and support and protection like an elder sister. I hope that this video is like that elder sister wisdom that you can really channel as well and tap into through my energy as well. And I hope that you have a beautiful full moon. I hope that it is easy and breezy and smooth, and yeah, I hope that you're able to really tap in to the shadows of what need to come up for you and feel so strong and sure of yourself that you know that you'll be able to really get through that and come out of it so much more powerful and renewed, like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. So yeah, that was all I wanted to share. I hope that you all have a beautiful full moon, and I will see you all in my next video.